Get out the way. Who got a watch? Who got the time? I'm racing the clock. Even in my feelings, grind don't stop. Got big.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hello, Sherri. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so thrilled to be here with you.
I'm happy you're here too. Welcome to Mature Allure. Everyone, we have Jane Vandermeer.
Well done.
Am I saying it right?
Well done.
Okay, just want to make sure. She is a fashion curator and professional style specialist. So I'm glad you're here. You have a business called Finesse Your Style. Yeah. So if you could introduce yourself to us and then tell us a little bit about Finesse Your Style.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, yes, my name is Jane Vandermeer. I have worked within the fashion industry my whole career. I'm lucky enough to have always known what I wanted to do. I say it runs through my blood. It was never a decision. It was just, it is. So I started my first business in fashion at 16, actually. And so I've created and built and sold and done lots of things within the fashion industry. So I'm a designer by trade. And I went back to study styling and then realised that I feel like it needed to happen in a different way and not just be surface level. You know, there's nothing traditional styling, there's nothing wrong with that. But I realised sort of a blend of my skills, working with my strengths and my superpowers, but also what I see with women, that it's how I approach it and how I help is I go deeper. I have deeper conversations because to me it's more than just let me take you shopping and buy this red jacket for you. That's fine, but I feel like when I educate women and I give you tools, and I tell you why things are the way they are, then you're more likely to remember and implement them yourself. And that hands the tools over to you, not creating you being reliant on me. So it's a different approach. It's flipping it on its head. And that's how I feel I make real change for women. And also that's how I like to learn too. I like to be given the information so I can implement it myself.
Well, how did you come up with Finesse Your Style? Yeah.
So I've styled over the years, and then a number of years ago I got quite sick, actually, really very sick. And in that time I was also thinking about different things as you do when everything's taken away from you. And so that name just really came into me. Really, that's sort of what it comes down to. So it's all, lots of women know elements of what works on them, and it is often just finessing. It is a bit of a course correct, and it might be, we've left a big relationship, or we've left a, changing career, or children have grown up a little bit more, or hormones play a part, our bodies are changing and things are fitting differently. So it's often finessing and building on what we already know. So that felt like a beautiful fit for me in terms of the name.
So you mentioned style. You've been blessed enough to be in the industry that you've always felt was your industry.
Yes.
Has style or the concept of it always been something that you've incorporated in your own life? And if so, how have you done that?
Yeah, great question. It's just part of who I am. I when you're younger, you just think everyone sort of thinks how you think because we don't question things. We just we are. And then at a certain point, you realise, actually, I think this way. That's interesting. People don't, or whatever. So, yes, style and the love of pretty things has always been part of who I am. And the impact of having pretty things around me, you might be able to see I always have flowers around me, and it just lifts who I am, and I know the impact. And, when you look at the last few years of globally what's happened to us all, when I'll say to ladies, when you put on a pretty colour or something that makes you, you do your hair and get shushed up, watch how you feel, watch your language, watch whether your language is a bit more half full rather than half empty. And so it actually makes a huge difference to ourself, how we start the day, and then follow on from that is self-worth and self-confidence. And then when we're feeling more confident as women, that impacts our relationships, our home life, our partners, our families. And most women, we're very community minded. And so when we're feeling good, that ripple effect is really far reaching. And that's all from feeling good about ourselves, which style plays a part in that. So that's a pretty wonderful impact, I think.
It is. And I think sometimes we unknowingly feel that way. When, I know when I have on a great outfit and I think it looks great, I feel way more confident
Yep.
than just in my yoga pants and just out in a t-shirt.
Yeah, perfect example. And you sort of walk into the room differently, don't you? When you know that you feel your best, whatever that is. And as a stylist, I don't make sweeping statements. I really don't, because we're all a myriad of colorings and backgrounds and lifestyles and self-talk and all these different things. So what works on you doesn't work on me or the next lady. But it's what I do is help dig deep to help you understand yourself, so that when you really are the most Sherri possible, or I am the most Jane possible, there's a sense of extra groundedness, extra strength, extra power when we are really firmly sitting within that.
How impactful do you believe style is on a person's confidence?
Yeah, that's such a lovely question. I think whether it's within business or just life in general, I think it's easy to dismiss fashion as superfluous, but actually, I think it makes an enormous difference to our self-confidence. You look at the last few years of where we were working from home and often would only get dressed from, there up and you watch what happened. I know there are a lot of things at play, but we watch what happened to self-confidence for a lot of us, and it dropped. And even within that time, I remember some days I would wake up and think, I just need to be in stilettos, a skirt and a dress, even though very few people can see me, because I needed to feel like me again and feed my soul and lift myself up. So I do think there is a lot there. So it doesn't mean necessarily, really high level dressing, but I think it's making the most of what you've got. So whether it's a color that really helps you shine brightly, or shapes that really work for you, don't dwarf you and make you look, when you put on something that you feel a lot bigger or a lot quite shapeless in. The odd day of that is fine. It is fine. But if that is most of your week, it just chips away on the days when we're wobbly and the days when things are happening. And I think it's very easy to lose confidence. So let's flip that on its head and elevate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you brought up the days, if you spend more than a few days in that kind of wear, and sometimes you get used to it, and you just doing it. And then before you know it, when you do put on clothes that make you feel good, it's like, whoa, why hadn't I done this earlier?
Yeah. And I think it just
You know?
happens slowly, doesn't it? Like it's not like a big I've written about this over the time where it's like a little blah. It's not a big one. It's just a little bit low. You get a little bit lower each day. And so if you don't catch it and know yourself enough to know if you've spent a week like that, it's so much harder to lift yourself out of that. Like I said, the odd day, the odd couple of days, that's all fine. We all need that. We can't all be on all the time. But I think it's watching those signs. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And then, you
Perfect.
walk out and see someone and you walk differently when you're feeling lovely and then that propels you in that upward trajectory. And that is important for keeping us positive.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
What are 3 tips you can give women on
Yeah.
how to develop a style for success?
Yeah. So one thing I often suggest is, and I'm a bit old school, I love a notepad and a book, like a tangible one. You can do it on your phone, but writing it down in some format is try and be an observer in your day to day. So when you put on, so I'm wearing this color. How do you feel? Try and use the adjectives. How do you feel when you put on this particular color or this particular shape or in your yoga pants again and again and again? How do you feel? Try and tap into those emotions and correlate. Okay, when you put your snuggy cardigan on, how do you feel versus your, I don't know, your particular jacket that is your favorite color, and so that you can start to observe and merely just observe so that you can watch that. So that's one. I would personally, I think it's worth getting help and guidance in this area. um, I describe what I do as a life skill. So I'm all about understanding oneself more. So I think when you get guidance, it's amazing. So, for one lady, your neutral palette in your wardrobe might be a black base. But for the next lady, like for me, it would be like gunmetals and charcoals and all those sort of softer colours. And then the next lady, it might be tans and neutrals. So guidance in that area is worth its weight in gold. Just do some research and make sure that you work with the right people, get the right advice, and then bring it back to you because, like I said, we're all extraordinary mixes of who our experience and our colorings and our budgets and our lifestyle. So bring it back to you, not just, we live in this world of influencers and whatever where we're looking externally for guidance, and that's fine and helpful. So take a bit of that and then bring it back to, okay, does that feel right for me? No, my hips aren't meant for those kind of pants. No, I won't go for that. I'll go for this one. Yeah, so because it's all really, we know the answers. Mm.
That makes a lot of sense too, especially when you were saying with all the influencers and everything that are out there. Sometimes you want what they're presenting, and that's
Yep.
not necessarily who you are,
No,
you know?
no.
So when you're putting a style together or cultivating a style for a client,
Yeah.
what do you draw on for inspiration?
Yeah. I think as a creative being, inspiration is absolutely everywhere. It keeps flowing in constantly. Having said that, I designed my own system years ago because I realised that everything I've ever been taught never felt 100% right. So I created my own system after 30 years of professionally working in the industry. So I take you back to understanding some principles that are specific to you, create your blueprint. And then as we build on that, so I work with women over a longer period of time, as we build on that, then, okay, see this color, this is happening this season. This is how we do it for you. This is how this look is, I would interpret that for you, because it's a great look for you, or it's not your best look, so let's do it in a smaller component. So it's it's sort of a blend, really.
So how much of style is, or how much is personality reflected in style and vice versa?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I really love, and this is where I find when I work with people a bit longer, I get to know their personality. So I get to know who you are, and women tend to tell me their most innermost secrets, because style, it's very tied up with how we feel about ourselves, and I create a very safe space, and they know you'll never see me anywhere talking about clients, because I'm like a little vault. If you come to me and you talk about me, that's quite different than me saying blah 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 about a client, right? So having said that, one lady I have worked with over in London, and she, she is in a very serious job. She's a CEO, and she's the only lady in a boardroom of mature men. And so, there is a appropriateness of the role, or, that kind of thing. But who she really is underneath all of that is this extraordinary woman that keeps relocating all over the world, and she does amazing, brave things. She keeps tattoos. Her role is. So as I got to know her, like, she doesn't want to look like the straight-laced or dress like the straight-laced role that she's in. So the key with her was marrying that inner rock chick kind of girl that she is with this very serious role. And, that takes a little bit to really do that in an authentic way. But we did. And, she sent me a photo one day where she was at the House of Commons, and she's like, Jane, look at what I've got on, in this sea of black and safeness. And she had, just the twist, the nuances of her spunk and her fun and her personality. And I thought, that is what I love, because that is like an extension of who she is, while still treading that fine line of her role.
And it has to make you feel good too, because you have done something for somebody that they value so much. It's changing how their perception of themselves in some way, shape, or form. And you've helped them.
You're so right, Sherri. It really, it is such an honor to play a part in someone's life like that. It really is, because the change is extraordinary. And because of that too, I have relationships with my girls for a long, long time because of that, because, I know everything about them, and it's very special and very valued, and to be treated that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're at a point in our lives where changes happen. That's around midlife, different kinds of changes. I think we brought that up a little earlier. Should one of those changes be our style?
Can you say that one again? It just froze.
Say that again?
Can you say that again? It just froze when you asked the question.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll say it again. We're at a point in our lives where changes happen around midlife. Should one of those changes be our style?
Okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right. You've frozen, so I'll answer though. So what I find is, I wrote a great article recently about midlife women, which means different things to different women, as opposed to putting an exact age on it. But what I find is it is a combination of a few things. You know, hormones come into play and affect our bodies differently, and weight distribution and all those different things. But also it is the opportunity to step into who we want to be for the next patch of our lives. You know, for many women in sort of a midlife stage, you know, perhaps children have grown up a bit more off your hands, so to speak. And yeah, it's that reflection time. So I think it's a really lovely opportunity to step into who we really are. And what I find is it's very easy to stay, even say with your makeup, how we do our makeup. It's very easy to keep doing your eyes, for instance, how you've always done them. And if you don't refine and finesse and keep learning and moving forward, you can sort of get stuck in habits of how we are putting ourselves together. So with clothing, because I talk and teach about hair and makeup and accessories and things, but with clothing, what I see is women will sort of say every season, every winter, for instance, buy the same shaped knitwear every season. So really it's just a bit repeating what's going on. Now that's okay, but it's easy to sort of get caught in a bit of a habit or a routine, and it's a lovely opportunity to think differently and break out of that and look at new things, new updated things. I completely understand that it can often be very hard to find what that look is, because a lot of the media and magazines and things are for a bit younger, and of course we don't want to look middle-aged or whatever. I don't. So finding that sweet spot is the key. And I know, listening to, you know, most of my clients don't love shopping and they don't know where to go, and I understand that. So that's where guidance can be really helpful.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Mature Allure. For more information about us, visit matureallure.net and get social with us on Instagram and YouTube at mature.allure, Facebook at @4matureallure, and Twitter at mature_allure. Till next time, we encourage you to stay positive, embrace who you are at every stage of your life, and always tap into your mature allure.